So tell us about your story, how you came up, how you got into bodybuilding in the first place.
Man, it's pretty lengthy. I mean, I can honestly tell you guys that like from the very beginning, I mean, I have pictures when I was flexing when I was 4 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old. I was the youngest of 7 kids, and I was always inspired by like cartoon characters or superheroes, right? So like Superman, Batman, and Captain America, those kind of things. I was always intrigued by the muscle. I would probably say the first influence, I was 12, and my sister's boyfriend had a bodybuilding book, and it featured the 82 Olympia. Chris Dickerson won that. And I remember seeing this physique, and I was like, man, this is unbelievable. It was kind of like a ripped up magazine, and I, since I had already had recognition from people around me, especially my older brothers and sisters. I was the youngest of 7. So I had a good physique, and I was an active kid. I started, I guess, kind of following it, and I'd go to my local GNC, and I'd flip through the books, like the magazines, because that was the only real place that had fitness books was GNC. There was no such thing as vitamin shops or other like mom and pop supplement stores. So I would go in and I would grease the magazine rack, and I watched that all through high school. I was a football player. Had an interest in bodybuilding. One of my friends when I was 15 took me to Gold's Gym, and we worked out, and he was super into bodybuilding. And I think that I kind of was like, wow, it's amazing what you can do getting under these weights. And I made a commitment that when I graduated high school, which I graduated in 91, I was going to join the gym and start my journey towards lifting weights and developing a better body. But what I realized is when I started, I was attending college that fall, September. I was pursuing a degree in criminal justice. I had a family business that I worked in doing concrete. So I already had in high school a developed body. But really, once I found those weights and I found that time in the gym, I was training from 8 to 10 at night. The gym closed at 10 o'clock. I was just lost in the weights. It was the best stress reliever. I was at that turning point, 18. Like we reached that point, and it's like the family's trying to drag you to the business. Like that was a family business. And then it was like, okay, do I want to pursue a degree in criminal justice? I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I think a lot of young kids just go to college and they're not sure, is this going to be my lifelong career? And when I found lifting weights, not to say that I was like, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life, but I knew it was a hobby for sure that I would, participate in. And that started the whole kind of journey. And progression obviously kept me in the gym, on 50 pounds my first year of training, and somehow got on a bodybuilding stage. And
What about your siblings? Were they naturally fit too? Like if they went to the gym, they trained like you, would they have the results that you did? Or do you think maybe that you were just genetically a little bit more inclined to put on muscle?
I was a little stockier. I have an older brother that's a little stocky like that also, but my other brothers are pretty slender. And like I said, they own a concrete business, so they were all super active, but no one ever lifted weights. So it's hard to say, would this benefit them like it benefited me? It was really hard for me to imagine, I didn't have a guide. Like, normally like the older brother or the father, like today I see now, someone gets someone into this and shows them a direction, where I kind of had to find on my own. I think maybe there could have been genetics. It's hard to really say, but genes do play a part in when you can go to a certain level like I did, like the Olympia level to win. Like you have to have something special, like it's structure, it's, body composition, how you handle foods, and it's a lot of mindset.
What % do you think you'd allocate towards hard work versus just pure genetics?
I think, we've seen some great bodies that never really came to fruition of like being their absolute best because the mindset wasn't there. But I would say, listen, hard work, like a lot of it is hard work. A lot of it, but genetics, you still have to have the right genetics. Like anyone can make progress, but to go to the elite level, when you start talking, okay, to be Mr. Olympia, like you have to have a good sway of genetics also.
What do you think drew you to the gyms in the beginning in terms of like lifting weights? Was it the physique? Was it like, hey, get attention from girls? Was it the feeling?
I mentioned that I said, wow, if I actually put my body to work, like I would get more reaction from people. But I think more, it wasn't like I get sand kicked in my face or anything like that. Like you hear these, or I was smaller than everyone else, or I was picked on. I was rather popular in high school. And for me, I strive on challenges in life. Like if something's not competitive or challenging, I'm kind of bored with it, to be honest.
So at what age do you think you crossed that line of being like, okay, he's got like a decent physique to like, holy cow, like this is actually something he can compete with?
Looking back now, it was the combination of doing concrete from 11 to 18, where I was just working nonstop after school vacations. It really tore my body down. So when I actually started going to college and I would be in class and I'd have more time to rest, and then I started eating the food because I didn't have any kind of nutrition program at all when I was in high school, it really, it just, my body exploded. And that's really how I would say that I made such fast progression, because my body was just beat down, tired, not no nutrition value whatsoever.
So back to the timeline, you were 18 when you started taking it seriously. You said you also went to college. Did you graduate college?
I did, yeah.
And what did you study in college again?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice, right. And then did you go into work right after college, or did you go full into bodybuilding?
The funny thing is I graduated college in 93. And I went to the teen nationals around the time I was graduating. I actually skipped my graduation to go compete in the teenage nationals.
Way.
Yes.
Wow.
That's the best teenager in the country. And I won that in the heavyweights. And from that forward, I was like, okay, I have something. I was looking at magazines and looking at California. I wasn't making a ton of money. And so when I graduated, I was able to, just work and just support my career a little bit. I didn't take a job right away. And I was trying to decide, because I graduated my associate's degree, and did I want to go and finish my bachelor's? And I was kind of working. I was doing heating, air conditioning at the time. And shortly after, I got my first sponsorship offer, like $50,000 contract.
No
and
way.
at the time, doesn't sound like a lot, but this is 95. I landed my first Muscle and Fitness cover, and I started getting fan mail from all over the world.
Now, back then, what was your overhead? Were you saving a lot of it?
I was renting an
spending a lot of
apartment.
it?
My apartment was $500. I drove kind of a crappy car. I'd buy a whole cow at a time. So I had like 2 freezers in my house.
No.
At the time, I was eating probably 4 pounds of meat a day, and a lot of it was red meat. But I'd buy 150 pounds of chicken at a time. I'd buy 30 dozen eggs. So I'd buy a whole case of eggs, and that would be my whole refrigerator. And that's how dedicated I was. And I'd sit outside and I'd cook all my chicken breasts and my steak and stuff like that on the barbecue grill, and I'd put it on plates, and I'd put it in my refrigerator, and I'd pick as the days went on. I would pick enough for each couple days, and that's how I kind of ate the food. I had pasta and rice and whatever around it. I ate every 2 hours. And you talk about progression, you said, how did I do it? That's where I was spending most of the money.
How much do you think you're spending on food?
Back then, I was probably spending maybe $50,000 a year on food.
Gosh.
Yeah, 50 grand.
Back then, too.
Yeah.
That was 95?
Yeah, because, I would eat
Yeah.
out sometimes too, but, and I would travel and.
Sure.
So you said you were buying a whole cow at a time.
Yes.
How much did a cow cost, and how long did it take for you to go through an entire cow?
It was probably a few $100s for what I paid back then.
That's it?
Yeah.
I think it would be more.
Yeah, I would have thought it would be
Wow.
like $2,000.
No, because remember, the guy was in Spencer, Massachusetts, so.
Can you walk us through your diet for today? What exactly you ate for breakfast and what you're going to eat for the rest of the day?
So breakfast was 2 whole eggs. I had Ezekiel bread, which is like a flourless bread. I had a bowl of oatmeal with a banana, a cup of coffee, fat cottage cheese, and I had some bacon.
That's still, that's a lot of food
So,
still.
yeah.
I'd be full for hours
Yeah, I would be
most of the
extremely
day.
full.
Yeah, so the breakfast is still 80 protein and probably 200 grams of carbohydrates. And then I'm not kidding, like chicken and rice the rest of the day. Like chicken and rice. The same thing. People laugh about my monotonous eating style. It's just what I know. And once in a while I'll eat red meat. I try to eat less now. Over the weekend we ate at a restaurant. I did have some red meat. But with my age and everything, I try to stay more leaner, less cholesterol and that kind of thing.
And any body part that's weak or lagging behind, the answer is not to train it more frequently or do more exercises or more sets or more reps. It's to do with more focus. So do it first in your workout rather than later on, and use techniques to increase the intensity of the workout.